Hi, my name is Diaz, and today I'm going to show you how to use the multi-sampling feature on the Fantom G. One way we're going to use it today is how to sample software synthesizers and put them back inside a hardware keyboard, such as the Fantom G. Alright, the first thing to do is to pull up your favorite digital audio workstation. I have Logic pulled up and I have a software synth right here pulled up. I'm using my Fantom G to trigger the actual sounds through USB. So you can see it right there. Now, one thing to remember is every key that you press on there, it gives you a note number, such as these down here. Okay, so C2, C3, C4, C5. And these are going to come into play once we have these as a sample. So let's go ahead and record a quick sequence, and you'll see what I mean. So here we go, I'll press record. So as you see, I recorded a quick sequence just with single notes. Okay. Now we're going to switch on over to the Fantom and record them or sample them into the Fantom. Okay. So I'm pretty much done with my digital audio workstation. I'm just going to use this for playback so I can sample a lot easier. All right. So let's get started with that. All right. Now that we've recorded our little bit of a sequence here, I'm going to go ahead and get out, go back to single mode, and remember, to press single mode, all you have to do is press single mode right here. Now that I'm in single mode, go to my right here and I'll press sampling. Now that I'm in sampling, press F1 sampling. Okay. Your input settings should be set to USB. So if that isn't like that, spin the dial wheel and make that so. Now press F8 select once it's there. Now if I just press the space bar and play back that sequence, that basic sequence of the basic tones, you should be able to hear it in the keys. You see I get a good level. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now let's go ahead and record it. So I'm going to go ahead and press start and get it going now. Here we go. Now I'm going to press stop on my Fantom and stop on my DAW so it's not playing them back. Alright, so now we see the samples of the software synth. Okay, so here's a couple different ways we can do it. So first off, I'm going to go to F3 modify, of course normalize it. This is something we always do with our samples. F8 select, overwrite, and execute. So okay. Once that is completed, I'm going to go ahead and adjust the front part of my sample. Okay, so I'm at the start point. We can either go by beat, and remember this beat isn't correct, but remember the beat says 120, but it only says that because that's what's in the default over here. It doesn't really make sense right now, and what we're doing really isn't a beat oriented sample. So now I'll go ahead and spin my dial wheel to the right. If I want to zoom into the sample, go ahead and press my cursor to the right a little bit over here, and you see I'm actually zooming in pretty good, and get right on it. Great. So, and you can see I can zoom in pretty good, so I can see exactly where it starts. Okay, there it is. Now let's go ahead and modify and truncate. We're going to trim the front part, overwrite, and execute. Okay, so now we have a pretty good clip of that sample. So now let's go ahead and clip these other ones. Now check this out. This is going to be pretty cool. We're going to use the chop feature to do this. So press F3 modify. Go ahead and spin your dial wheel down to chop. F8 select. And now here's where we get a couple of options. So we're going to push F6 auto chop. And it's going to ask us, well, what type of chop do we want to do? Level, beat, or divide by 16? Well, we're going to do by level. Okay. So press F8 execute. And now remember, this is a preliminary chop, and it put those chops right into our pads. So I'm hitting pad 1. Look what's happening. Hitting pad 2. Caught a little bit of something there. Pad 3. Good. Pad 4. Pad 5. A little something. And 6. Alright, so let's take a look at pad 1. So that first chop. That looks pretty good. Let's take a look at pad 2. Okay. There's nothing really there, so let's go ahead and clear that point. So when I press clear that point, watch what happens to my pad. I'm going to press F5. Now there's one less chop. Alright, so let's go to pad number 2 and see what we have now. Now remember, this is a preliminary chop. It hasn't done it all the way. So we're going to go ahead and cursor down. So cursor down to point. And let's go ahead and zoom in and see where it is. Alright, right here we can see that our chop is a little bit off. So I'll go ahead and scoot it over right to where I see that. Right here, press pad 2. Now it's dead on. Let's press pad 3. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. You see we have a little bit of empty space here, a little bit of delay. Well, not delay, we didn't get it in time, so zoom in, make sure we got it right on the money. That's pretty good. Let's press pad 4. There's another kind of dead chop, so let's clear that point. Now let's press pad 4 again. And we can see that, oops, a little bit late. Now, if you take a look at our chops, our preliminary chops, pad 1, chop 1, chop 2, right on the money, chop 3, and chop 4. So right on there, so now they're all ready. So now let's go ahead and press F8 to execute. Now this is going to turn each one of these chops into its own separate WAV file. So let's press F7 for OK. Fantom asks us, do we want to create a sample set? And we're going to say no. So just go ahead and press F8 exit. Now let's go ahead and look at sample list just so you can see. So press F1. And so we look right here. This is the original sample. And since we chopped it in 4, there's 4 different parts right here. So let's go in and let's edit this real quick. I'm going to do a couple of edits. I'm just going to show you edit this first one, and then you can go in and do the rest on these. So let's press F8 to sample edit. Okay, we already modified these as far as the normalize. We already normalized them, so we shouldn't have to do that. Only thing I want to do now is get rid of this back end. I don't need all that tail. So let's go ahead and cursor down. Good, and let's go ahead and hit the beat and get close in on it. And that's fine. Now modify and F1 truncate, overwrite, execute. Boom. Okay, now that we have that, we have a real nice sample of that soft synth sound. Another thing we do when we're figured out this sample, that we got to go down to the keys. Remember I told you about the C2, C3, C4? We have to tell the Fantom what key this original sample was in. So this original sample was C2. And this is going to make sense when we are putting it to the keys in the multi-sample edit. Okay? Now that that's there, I'll go ahead and press the right button, press select, and I can name it whatever I want, but I would definitely make sure and name it something so I know what key structure, what the key range it is. Maybe like, I'll go ahead and delete over here, and I might call it C2, so I know. Okay?